What's up everyone on the internet? Thank you for making this video part today. I am so excited to upload this one for you guys because in this video we'll be taking a look at some good old-fashioned Godzilla movies with Godzilla Against MechaGodzilla. Well, what can I say? With the massive success of Godzilla -1 and with the MonsterVerse franchise doing pretty well, I figured let's take a look at some old Godzilla movies, more specifically the ones that came out in the early 2000s, which focuses on my favorite version of MechaGodzilla, Kiryu. So this movie came out back in 2002, so a few years after America made that 1999 Godzilla movie, and right off the bat the movie hits the ground running as it states that it has now been 45 years since the events of the original Godzilla, a movie that I love and I think is one of the best Godzilla movies ever made, second to -1. But anyway, going back to the movie, the story is centered around Akane Yashida, who is a member of Japan's self-defense forces and is struggling with survivor's guilt. Why? Because earlier on in the film, Godzilla just rages throughout the city and manages to kill everyone in her squad, leaving her the lone survivor. And why does that sound familiar? Oh my god, this movie is essentially Godzilla -1. So, after experiencing several attacks from the Big G, everyone's wondering how are we going to repel Godzilla, so they decide to create a weapon, and in doing so they create MechaGodzilla, aka Kiryu. Now, what makes this MechaGodzilla different from all the others is that this guy is built off the bones of the original 1954 Godzilla. And when I saw Kiryu's design, whoa, I got so giddy because this guy is the love child of War Machine from the MCU, Metal Garurumon from Digimon, Liger Zero from Zoids, oh my god, I am freaking old, and obviously Godzilla himself. Also, in most versions of MechaGodzilla, he's most of the bad guy for Godzilla to go toe-to-toe with, but what makes me love this movie so much more is that Godzilla is basically a menace to society as he is destroying cities left and right for no apparent reason. So to have Godzilla be the villain and have MechaGodzilla be the good guy of the story, I was blown away. Yeah, there are a few moments where MechaGodzilla goes a little bit off the rails, but that's mostly because Kiryu is essentially Gojira, and there are times where he remembers his past life and decides to go back to his roots, which is something that the MonsterVerse did in Godzilla vs. Kong, where you had MechaGodzilla being built off the mind of Ghidorah, which is cool in concept, but oh my god, I was not a fan of that design.
Look how they massacred my boy.
Oh my god, where do I begin with that design? I mean, for starters, he looked like a giant bionicle. Anyway, looking past that horrific version of the character, what makes this version of MechaGodzilla so cool is that Kiryu has got it all. I mean, look at this guy. He's got everything he needs to take down Godzilla. He's got cannons on his shoulders. He's got guns on his hands. Even on the other hand, he's got a sword that can come out and stab Godzilla. He's got rockets on his legs and thighs that can make him fly up. And even his jetpack can shoot out and hit Godzilla. And what makes it even cooler is that hidden in his chest is actually a chest repulsor like Iron Man that shoots out an ice beam that freezes Godzilla. And what makes it even cooler is that you can actually pilot this guy. Turns out, Kiryu is a mech that can be operated by a human pilot, which is where Akane comes in, and she's been chosen to be the pilot for MechaGodzilla, which is where I was like, okay, this just turned into an anime, and I love it. As someone who grew up watching shows like Zoids and Megas XLR, and even recent anime like Darling in the Franxx, watching a character like Akane pilot MechaGodzilla and then go toe-to-toe with Godzilla himself, this movie just blew away all my expectations. And speaking of Akane, just like in -1, she goes through an incredible character arc where at first she is struggling with survivor's guilt, but then later on learns that in order to overcome that guilt, she has to face her fears, which in this case is Godzilla. And that's exactly what we see in the third act as she decides to go toe-to-toe with Godzilla himself. So while the monster side is so much fun to watch, the human side of the story is able to keep up with it as well, as we have human characters play a role in the outcome of the movie. However, while I did enjoy these human characters, there were a few times where they were a bit quirky, but that's mostly because I was only able to watch this movie in English, and let me tell you, the English dub does not do this movie any justice. We'll just leave it at that. But you know what? With a runtime of just under an hour and a half, this movie was super fast, and honestly, it didn't even feel like a Godzilla movie. It actually felt like you were watching a Saturday morning Godzilla cartoon. And you know what? I had a lot of fun with it because from beginning to end, we get to watch giant monsters destroy cities, and I had a blast with it. Honestly, if I could, I would love to wear a MechaGodzilla cosplay because that design is something special. So overall, I had a lot of fun with this movie, and if you're a fan of the more recent Godzilla films and want to see giant monsters destroying Tokyo, I highly recommend you watch this movie. Well, that's going to do it for this video, guys. That was my overall review on Godzilla Against MechaGodzilla. If you like what you saw, hit the subscribe button to see all these updates from this channel. I'll see you next time with a brand new video. Bye-bye.